Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to replace your bad battery clamps at the end of your battery cables with these nice military style cable clamps. As you can see, mine are pretty worn out and corroded. This one I actually can't tighten on because it's so worn. My other battery is actually a lot worse. I have my negative on my other battery is actually cracked. So we're going to be replacing these because if you leave these loose and not making a good connection, you can have starting issues like what I'm experiencing. Or if you have a second gen Dodge Cummins like I do, if your negatives aren't making good connection to your negative battery posts, you will experience some overdrive issues. So if you do have a second gen Cummins, or I think any Cummins in general, and you want to replace your battery post, you can get this kit off of fostertruck.com. This is a Larry B's kit, and it comes with all the parts you need to convert your Dodge Cummins over to this military style clamps. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is just remove the clamps off your battery posts. And make sure if you have two batteries to do it on either side. You don't want anything connected when you're doing this job. And the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna remove this end piece right here that connects both my batteries via positive connection. Next, we're just gonna cut all the smaller wires off of each, the negative and positive connection. There's one. There's two. Cut those two off. And then we got this little thicker one here. We're gonna cut that one. There we go. Okay. Next thing we're gonna do is remove the clamps from your main cables. And how I've been doing that is with a Sawzall, and I'll show you my method. I know they make special tools to cut these off with, but I don't have that. And odds are I probably won't be doing this job again. So this is my method on taking these clamps off. First thing is get a 2x6 or 2x4. Next, I just found something like this, and I'm just gonna clamp I'll do it so you can see here. I'm gonna clamp the cable clamp down to the piece of wood, and that's just to hold it in while I'm cutting it with the Sawzall. Kind of makes it easier, I've found. Alright guys, I got my gloves on, I got some safety glasses on, and now I'm going to cut this cable as straight as I can. And it's good to wear leather gloves because they're more protective against cutting things like blades and whatnot. So we're getting there. Just be really careful about your hand placement. I know I'm getting kind of close, but I got my gloves on. I'm pretty confident in my Sawzall skills. And there we go. So that's how you get those off, or my way. Probably not the best way, but it works, and it was pretty easy. Just get a lot of this copper dusting crap everywhere. Okay, so the next thing we gotta do is we gotta cut back this grommet that's covering the cable, this protective plastic. We're gonna cut that back a little bit so that we can get our new clamps to go on. This is a a crimp on system that we're gonna use. So I'll show you how to do that real quick. Okay, so I got the piece I'm gonna crimp on, and I got this little pipe cutter, and this is how we're gonna do it. We're just gonna kind of measure out how far this crimp is gonna go over. So it's gonna go like right there. So I'm gonna move in just a little bit, just so we can get a little bit of this protective plastic underneath it. That just helps protect the wire from the elements a little better. So we're gonna get that. Usually you can feel once you're through. Like right there. I think I got through there. Yeah. So you just take this off, and that's how you strip that grommet down. And we'll test our fit. And what do you know? That'll be a good fit right there. So before we start doing the crimping process, we're gonna wanna get some Scotch-Brite or steel wool or some fine grit sandpaper and just shine this up real quick. Okay guys, so now we're ready to do the crimping process. We're just gonna, before you do that, you gotta wanna know which way to crimp this sucker on right here. So what I do is I get the clamp, the new clamp that's gonna go onto the terminal, and I just set it on there. And with the easiest way that the wire wants to go, that's how I'm gonna wanna put the new clamp on. So I'm gonna twist this on quick. And as you can see, the wire wants to go like that, so that's where it's gonna go. So what I mean is, maybe if you clamped it like that, well, the wire, you're gonna have to, like, you know, the wire doesn't want to twist that way, and you're not gonna be able to make, you know, that good connection with that going in. I suppose you could go that way, but you know what I mean. Just find a good spot, good direction to crimp this guy on, so it's easiest to get onto that clamp. So that's the direction I'm going to go with, because it's just, the wire's not under any stress or anything like that. It's really easy to get there. So next thing we're going to do is get our press and get ready to crimp this on. But before that, what I've been doing is I've been taking a little bit of dielectric grease and just put a little bit in there into the crimp. You don't need a lot, and just move it around just like that. Okay, then we'll take our wire again. Make sure your ground doesn't slip over there and make contact. Be really careful when you're working around batteries. Okay, so we got that. We're gonna check it again, make sure that's the right direction. It is. Okay, good. Now I'm gonna take my 2x4 again, just put it so it is covering the positive side especially. You'll see why here in a second. Then here's the crimper I'm gonna use. This came with the kit that I purchased from fostertruck.com. Larry B's kit includes this. So if you have a Dodge Ram, or it should work with many other different pickups and vehicles, but this is a crimper that you get. And with this crimper, you can either use a hammer and whack the top of this to crimp, but what I have found out is the easiest way to make a good crimp connection is to use a ball joint press. This works really great. You can also use a vise on a table, but you're gonna have to take your wires out. I wanted to do this job with the wires in the pickup just to make it easier on myself, but this works really well, and you'll see in a second. Okay, so how to crimp this is you want to take your press, and we're gonna slide it in like that, so the plunger, or like the main piston, is hitting the bottom of the connection. And then this right here on the back, it actually locks up, it's spring loaded, so you just hit this lever and it'll lock this in place. So that's really helpful for lining it up, especially when you're doing this job with the cable still in the pickup. So I'm just gonna get to the spot where I want it, lock her in, just like that. I'm gonna check it. Make sure, the biggest thing is you don't want your wire to slip back out on you. Just make sure when you start pressing that it does not. These wires fit pretty tightly into there, so that hasn't been a problem for me. Next step, take the ball joint press here, and we're just gonna line her up right here. And just be really mindful, you are working over your batteries, you don't want anything touching those terminals. That's why I got my 2x4 on here, just for a little bit of safety. I'm gonna try put the press on here so you guys can see. Maybe it'll go like this. That should work a little better. So I'm just gonna try to get this press lined up on here. It's a little tricky, but once you get it, it works really well. So we just gotta get her on top there and get her tightened in so she stays like so. See, my wire's starting to slip out. You just want to keep it pushed in. And then I'm gonna double check everything. Everything looks good. And now, in my case, my ball joint press, I need a 13/16 to turn it. I'm just gonna use a ratchet. Turn to righty tighty, and we'll put it on the end of the press. And then this is important, you gotta make sure that wire doesn't slip out. It's hard to see, I know where you guys are, but the wire back here, I just don't want that to slip out. Just keep it into that crimp. It's really important, because if you start crimping, you don't got that wire in there good, you're gonna waste your crimp. So once you get it started, that wire shouldn't want to slip out anymore, and you should be able to press it on without holding anything else. Just keep your hands away from it. I'll move you guys so you can kind of see a little better. And with this press, you really can't over tighten it. It's how it is designed, it claims. So especially on the ball joint press, I can really feel when it gets really hard to tighten. So about right there is where I'm gonna stop. You can see it went all the way down to the bottom of the press, and it's pressed in on the top there. So really, really great way to crimp these really big wires, in my opinion. All right, so I'm just gonna remove my clamp all the way, and hopefully you have a good idea of how to press these wires. So here's your finished product from the crimping. You can see where the press went down on there, and it's looking pretty good. It's nice and tight. The next thing we're gonna do, just to protect it from the elements, is put some heat shrink on it. Really important to do that so you don't get corrosion. And if you get the Larry B's kit, he includes heat shrink for you. So I'll show you how to just throw this heat shrink on here real quick. It's really easy. All right guys, to install this heat shrink, I just slid it over, and I'm gonna hold it kind of a little far away. We're gonna put the heat shrink so it's about right there to right there in the wire. It's like that maybe. Then you want to get a heat gun. I'm gonna turn mine on low just so I don't blow this thing all over the place. Get a heat gun, and then you just heat her up and it'll do its job. And there we go. Okay guys, so that's pretty much my process of putting new crimps on these large wires. Just be really careful with the Sawzall. You don't want to cut yourself. That way worked really well for me. I'm sure there's other ways to do it. I know they make special cutters for these, but I don't need that, like I said. But yeah, that's pretty much all you need to do, is do that 3 more times to the other 3 of your large cables, and you should be good. If you got a lot of smaller ground cables like that, Just strip them and crimp them onto these guys right here. These came in my kit I got from Larry B's. So you're just gonna want to do that, and then after you did all your crimping, you just take your military cables and you'll just hook your new crimped ends onto there, and then you'll put them on your battery terminal. And before you put your new clamps on your battery terminals, get one of these terminal cleaners and just clean off your terminals really well. Get all the gunk and whatnot out of there for your new clamps, and you should have a really good connection. I know mine will greatly improve because my old clamps were very bad. So with that said, thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more mechanical tutorials, and have a nice day.